2 years, 730 days, 17,520 hours, completely wasted. And I don't mean I was relaxing, or traveling, or enjoying life. I mean I was busy, extremely busy. Every single day, I was doing something, working, learning, planning, hustling. But 2 years later, I had nothing to show for it. Zero. My bank account was empty. My skills were mediocre. My confidence was shattered. And the worst part, I didn't even know where I went wrong. I followed all the advice. Wake up early. Read books. Network. Build a personal brand. Work hard. I did everything right, and I still failed. Or at least, that's what I thought. Until I realized I wasn't working hard, I was working busy. And there's a massive difference between the two. Let me show you what my days looked like. I would wake up at 5 a.m., feeling proud. Check. I would read 30 pages of a business book. Check. I would watch 3 YouTube videos about entrepreneurship. Check. I would scroll through LinkedIn and network by liking posts. Check. I would spend 2 hours researching my business idea. Check. By noon, I felt exhausted and accomplished. I told myself I was grinding. I was becoming an entrepreneur. But here's what I actually did. I read books without applying anything. I watched videos without taking notes. I researched without making decisions. I planned without executing. I was collecting information like a hoarder collects junk, filling my brain with knowledge that felt good but changed nothing. At the end of each day, I could tell you exactly what I learned, but I couldn't show you anything I built. And day after day, week after week, month after month, this continued for 2 full years. The moment everything changed was painful. I was at a family dinner. My cousin, who started his business 6 months ago, was telling everyone about his first $10,000 in revenue. Everyone was clapping, praising him, asking for advice, and I sat there, silent, because I had been working on my business for 2 years. 2 years versus 6 months. And he had results. I had nothing. Not even a website. Just notebooks full of ideas. Later that night, my uncle asked me, "So, how's your business going?" I mumbled something about still planning. He looked at me with pity. Not anger. Not disappointment. Pity. That look destroyed me. I went home and opened my business folder. 2 years of work. Want to know what was inside? 47 business ideas. 0 execution. 12 online courses completed. 0 certificates used. 3,000 pages of notes. 0 action taken. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was a professional student of entrepreneurship. And that night, I finally admitted it to myself. I spent 3 days in bed, not depressed, just thinking, analyzing every day of those 2 years. And I found the pattern. I was addicted to preparation, to learning, to feeling productive without being productive. Because preparation feels safe, execution feels dangerous. When you prepare, you can't fail. When you execute, you can. So I stayed in the preparation phase forever, always learning one more thing, always planning one more detail, always waiting for the perfect moment. But perfect moments don't exist. And I realized my 2 years weren't wasted because I was lazy. They were wasted because I was scared. Scared of judgment. Scared of failure. Scared of finding out I wasn't good enough. So I hid behind books and videos and research. I built a wall of knowledge to protect myself from actually trying. And that wall became my prison. I made one rule. Just one. For every hour I spend consuming information, I must spend 2 hours creating something. Anything. A bad website. A terrible product. An embarrassing video. It didn't matter. I had to create. The first week was torture. I built a website in 1 day. It looked horrible. I launched it anyway. I made my first product in 3 days. Nobody bought it. I kept it live anyway. I recorded my first video. It got 12 views. I published it anyway. And something strange happened. I started learning faster in 1 week of doing than I did in 2 years of studying. Because when you create, you find gaps in your knowledge immediately. You learn what you actually need, not what sounds interesting. You develop real skills, not theoretical understanding. For 2 years, I was the king of hustle. I woke up at 5 a.m., drank my green smoothie, and hit the books. I read every business book you can name. The Lean Startup, 0 to 1, The 4-Hour Workweek. I underlined passages, took detailed notes, and built a massive library of knowledge in Notion. I watched hours of YouTube videos every day. Gary Vee yelling at me to crush it. Oli Abdaal teaching me productivity hacks. I learned about sales funnels, SEO, content marketing, copywriting, branding, everything. My browser had 100 tabs open at all times, each one a golden nugget of information that was going to make me successful. I was a professional student of success. I was preparing, I was getting ready. And in those 2 years, what did I actually build? Nothing. Not a single product. Not a single customer. Not a single dollar. My biggest accomplishment was a perfectly organized folder of business ideas. I was drowning in information, but dying of thirst for real results. One evening, staring at my wall of sticky notes filled with quotes and frameworks, I had a crushing realization. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was a fan. I was watching the game from the sidelines, cheering for the players, memorizing their stats, but I had never once stepped onto the field. I was afraid of failing, afraid of looking stupid, afraid that all my knowledge wouldn't actually work in the real world. That fear had paralyzed me, and I had disguised it as research. I was addicted to the feeling of progress that came from learning, but I was avoiding the actual pain of doing. That night, I made a new rule for myself. A simple one. For every 1 hour I spent consuming content, I had to spend 4 hours creating something. Anything. It didn't have to be perfect, it just had to be real. This 80/20th rule of creation over consumption was about to change everything. The first week was torture. I felt like an imposter. I tried to build a website. It was ugly. I tried to write a blog post. It was rambling and incoherent. I tried to design a logo. It looked like a child's drawing. Every fiber of my being screamed, "Go watch another tutorial. You're not ready." But I stuck to my rule. 4 hours of painful, clumsy, embarrassing creation for every 1 hour of learning. I forced myself to hit publish on that terrible blog post. I forced myself to share that ugly logo, and something incredible happened. I didn't die of embarrassment. The world didn't end. In fact, a couple of people actually read the post. One person even left a comment. It was a small, flickering signal from the real world. A signal I had never gotten in 2 years of just learning. This tiny spark of feedback lit a fire in me. I started to see that the goal wasn't to create a perfect masterpiece on the first try. The goal was to create something, anything, to get feedback and iterate. My knowledge from books was abstract. This feedback was real. It was specific. It was actionable. I started treating my projects not as final exams, but as science experiments. I'd build a small feature, launch it, and see what happened. Most of the time, it failed. But each failure taught me more than 10 books ever could. I wasn't just learning what to do, I was learning what I should do for my project right now. The addiction to information was replaced by an addiction to iteration. Build, ship, learn, repeat. Suddenly, the game changed. In the first month of my new rule, I accomplished more than I had in the previous 2 years combined. I built a real website, not just a plan for one. I launched a real, albeit simple, product. I got my first real customers. I received real, sometimes harsh, feedback. I experienced real failure, and through it, real, tangible growth. 6 months after starting this, I made my first $1,000. Not from reading about business, but from actually selling something to someone. 1 year later, I had a real business. It was small, messy, and far from perfect, but it was mine. I had customers who paid me, problems I had to solve, and decisions I had to make. And you know what? I was still reading, still watching videos, but the ratio had completely flipped. 20% of my time was for consumption. 80% was for creation. And that changed everything. Today, 3 years after that wake-up call, my business generates a consistent income. I work fewer hours than I did during my 2 years of hustle, but every single hour counts. Because I'm not preparing anymore, I'm building, I'm shipping, I'm failing, learning, and repeating the cycle. I finally understand. The goal isn't to know everything before you start. The goal is to know just enough to take the first step and then learn the rest by doing. The real school is the arena, not the library. So here is my challenge to you. Look at your past week. Be brutally honest with yourself. How many hours did you spend consuming, reading articles, watching videos, planning, researching? And how many hours did you spend creating, building, writing, designing, coding, selling? If that ratio is skewed towards consumption, it's time to fix it. Today, not tomorrow. Today, pick one thing, that one thing you've been learning about for months, maybe even years. Give yourself the next 48 hours to create the absolute worst version of it. A terrible first draft of a blog post, an ugly, amateur logo, a clunky, barely functional website. Whatever it is, just force it to exist in the real world. Because the world doesn't reward knowledge. It rewards action. Every single day you spend getting ready is a day someone else is out there executing. They're getting ahead while you're still at the starting line. It's time to stop getting ready. It's time to start getting messy. It's time to start getting embarrassed. It's time to start getting real. Your 2 years of potential are happening right now. Make them count. I want you to comment below with one thing you've been planning to do but have you just started. It could be starting a channel, writing a book, launching a business, anything. Just name it. And then make a promise to yourself, right here, that, in the next 48 hours, you will create the worst first version of it. No more research, no more tutorials, just action. And if you want to stay accountable on this journey, hit that subscribe button, because every week I share exactly what I'm building, what I'm failing at, and what I'm learning from it. No more theory. Just real execution, real mistakes, and real progress. Let's do this together. Let's stop wasting time and start making mistakes. Because mistakes mean you're moving. And moving is the only way forward. Thanks for watching.